so busy lately, and the house, especially the kitchen, is just at that point where everything needs a little tending. There are certain corners that need us to put our hand to them and reintroduce order into the home. The fridge needs cleaned out, we need a grocery restock, we need a meal plan, and I'm going to take you guys along with me for that. I like to clean up the fridge at least once a week because it forces me to move stuff around, see what we have, what needs used up, and what can be worked into a meal plan in order to create the least amount of food waste. I don't necessarily meal plan by choosing recipes that I want to make and then shopping for them, but rather seeing what we have and what meals those ingredients can be turned into. If miscellaneous items are needed to complete those meals or enhance those meals, we will shop for them, but we try to keep that to a minimum because we stock a deep pantry and that is the base of all of our meals. I've been thinking about redeeming the time and faithfulness in everyday life, and I keep coming back to a quote from the book Life Management for Busy Women by Elizabeth George that I read last year. She writes, "My life is not to be characterized by false starts, fad diets, flashy gimmicks, or flashes of discipline followed by long periods of self-indulgence or neglect. Life management is characterized by a long, sustained, steady pace." So often my life is characterized by flashes of discipline and then periods of neglect. I often lack consistency, whether it be my own health or the care and keeping of the home or certain business responsibilities. But as Christians, we are to redeem the time and examine our hours to find if they are truly fruitful. There are many different seasons we may walk through in life where the responsibilities and focus look different throughout each. But the stream that flows through all of them should be of diligence. Horatius Bonar, an old Scottish hymn writer, in his book God's Way of Holiness, wrote this: "If the thing is worth doing at all, it is worth doing well, and in little things as well as great, we must show that we are in earnest. There must be no idling, but a girding up of the loins, a running the race with patience, the warring of a good warfare, steadfastness and perseverance, always abounding in the work of the Lord. The flowers are constant in their growing, the stars are constant in their courses, the rivers are constant in their flowing, they lose no time. So must our life be, not one of fits or starts or random impulses, not one of levity or inconsistency or fickle scheming, but steady and resolute, the life of men who know their earthly mission and have their eye upon the heavenly goal." I have been meditating on these things and dwelling in them and praying about applying them to all of the different responsibilities that are required of me. I'm finding that when we live and work by God's strength that He gives to us through His Spirit, we are able to live useful and holy lives and redeem the time in both the big and the small. When we understand that it is the Lord working through us, the bread that we eat is no longer anxious toil, nor is it the bread of idleness, but we get to feast on the bread of life that is Christ. And as Elizabeth Elliot would always say, we simply get to do the next thing. My next thing is tending to these old cabbages I found in the fridge that I'm going to turn into a batch of sauerkraut. I simply chop the cabbage, I add a high quality sea salt, I pack it into a clean jar, and I let it sit for a couple of weeks. It's very simple, but I will link where you can find my full sauerkraut recipe in the video description. I did make some extra brine because there never seems to be enough. It's just 2 cups of water to 1 tablespoon of salt. And I poured that on top. I added the fermentation weight, the lid, and it's good to sit until it tastes to your liking. Another task that needed my attention was shredding and freezing 10 pounds of mozzarella cheese that I got from Azure Standard. Unfortunately, it was packaged by the brand poorly, and some of the blocks were growing mold on the edges before they were even opened. So I just started with the best looking blocks. I cut off the edges just to be safe. I did get a full refund for this cheese. Azure is usually pretty good about making things right when the quality isn't up to par, but I wanted to get these in the freezer before things got worse so they didn't go to waste. I don't have a problem cutting mold off of cheese because that's what cheese is. So I did just that. I got them shredded. I flash froze them for a few hours on trays and then transferred them to a Ziploc. Thankfully, this brand melts better on pizza when it's been frozen first, so it works out great, and this will be very handy for future pizza nights. Thank you all for joining me on a little visit to my kitchen, and I pray that it would be true of all of us that we would look well to the ways of our household in all the little duties that are required of us, and that we would eateth not the bread of idleness.